This is the one and only TQuest. You are tuned into the TQuest show. If you are new to the show, welcome. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at TQuestGLM. Download that TQuest mobile app in your Google Play Store and your App Store. Hit me with a review and give me them 5 stars. And make sure you sign up for my mailing list on my website, gottalovemyworld.com. And if you are a fan of my music, go stream my stuff. So one day I can buy me a bottle of water, because when it comes to them streaming numbers, they really suck as an artist. It's a good thing I do it for the love. I'm so excited about today's interview because, as you all know, for the ones who've been following me for a minute, I enjoy interviewing all types of people, from entertainers to chefs to celebrities, mainstream, independent artists. But I like to talk to the ones who can really hold a conversation. You know, the ones where we're engaged with one another, actually have something to talk about, great content for the people. Drop some knowledge, because you guys already know the slogan of the show is relatable, informative, yet entertaining. And sometimes people can't do all three, but I feel this man can. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just get right into it. Let me introduce you guys to Daddy O.
Peace.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm holding it. Working. Excited. Just excited.
What are you excited about?
So, I usually record completed one, just heard the master and about that. But, as soon as my guys send me, like, okay, this is the track list, this is the album cover, this is I immediately, I don't know why, it's just the way I'm wired, like, I immediately go to the next record.
Yeah.
Like, I immediately go to the next record. So I was working on an album. I wanted to do this album. I had this idea to do like 23 tracks on the album, putting it together. And then my team hits me up and they're like, yo, you got to cut that down. There's too many songs. So at first I was really angry about it. But then I thought about it for about an hour. I said, okay, you know what? I'll cut it down, but it's another album. Now it's going to be another thing. So I cut it down. I made it, like I retitled it, cut it down to 12 songs. And immediately, so I worked on that, try to make sure, everything's right, everything's going. So now that that's done, I'm actually working on the album that I had titled before, the First Team album. And I noticed that I got maybe 7 First Team records. So I was like, oh, this is kind of crazy. So I'm now starting to put that together and think about things. So I'm just, whenever I get into my rap mode, I get super excited because I'm proud to be a classic MC, because one of the things that comes from my era is nobody rap like me, right? So Big Daddy Kane could make that same statement, Chuck D could make that same statement, Kool Keith could make that same statement, KRS-One could make that same statement. Like, nobody rap like me. Like, I know it. I'm clear. So when I start getting into my stuff, you got to get into your own stuff. So
Absolutely.
That's where I'm at. I'm working on 2-3 things at a time. So I'm working on the First Team album, and I'm also doing a collaboration with all girls.
Hey.
And I kind of finished the mental health album. I did an entire project on mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, so, you know what I'm saying? I'm always working on stuff, so it's like I'm always, that's one thing, advice, music, especially rappers, no disrespect to rappers, like, just try to stay ahead of the game. Like, once you finish one thing, go ahead, move to the next thing, or make a bunch of stuff. And what I do, I make a bunch of stuff and just put it in what I call buckets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and then I'll be like, that I'm doing a whole project because it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Ahead of time, because you just never know if you're gonna have a snafu, like with distribution or work people, or you just never know if something's gonna hold you up. And if you try to work like, oh, let me finish, I gotta be done in 2 weeks, like, it's different, right? So when I started making records, I probably started recording my, it's super duper. I mean, I ended up later on in my career in the 24-track machine, but very difficult to get in studios and all of that stuff. So you almost couldn't be ahead of time, except for what you're writing. You could be walking, and that's why you see, I say classic, but what we call it old school, you always hear people talk about their rhyme books. With your rhymes, you could be rhyming, you know what I mean? But now you got at least the opportunity, even on your phone, to at least like lay something down as an idea. You know what I mean? But you can lay it down, so don't wait. Like, you got an idea, just like you up in the middle of your sleep, lay it down, and just, archive it somewhere. You got wires and cables that could connect to our phones, regardless, and put a little jump drive in the phone, and just archive it something. Just hold on to it. So, I mean, I believe I'm so into that now because I can do so much at home. That's why I'm excited, because I couldn't do this before. I really couldn't record at home before. I just couldn't. Mm-hmm. It was impossible. And I'm just like, woo, let's go. Like, I'm all the time. I just hit up one of the Sleep DJs, Wisdom Beats, because he sent me some stuff probably about 2-3 weeks ago, but it takes me a while sometimes to hear it. And I'm listening to my download, because I download everything that, you send me something, I'll download it. It'll just sit there. Yeah. And then when I got stuff in my ear and I'm doing paperwork like I'm doing today, I got to do publishing splits and all that today. This track just came up, and I'm like, yo, it's crazy. So I hit him up, and then I guess he sampled Prince Paul from Organized Fusion in it. Yeah. So he was like, it'd be dope to get Prince Paul on the record. So I just reached out to Prince Paul, so I know he's going to hit me back and say, yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could do all that now. I just couldn't do that in the thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm just happy about that. I'm happy about nowadays.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's kind of like people's always complain about new age and how things are so different. I'm like, it's not a crime for things to be a little bit more easier. It's not a bad thing as long as you use it to your advantage. I remember, because I interview a lot of DJs too. And they're always talking about how nowadays all they have is this, that, and the other. Back in the day, we used to hold this, that, climbing upstairs. I'm like, yes, and now you don't have to. So instead of complaining that things are easier, just embrace the new.
or they can still climb upstairs with crates if they want to, because there's DJs right now. I know DJs right now that play only vinyl. Mm-hmm. Well, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. Like, continue to struggle. It's so funny, right? It's so funny. I remember, I don't know what year this is, but I finally found the video. I might post it one of my Throwback Thursdays. But we went, and this is when Big Tigger was on BET, and there was a show he had called The Basement. Yeah. And we went and did an interview, my band, me and Stetsasonic, we went and we did an interview on Big Tigger. And there was a thing that had happened where this is when Serato, no, I don't even think Serato was in place. I think it was just CDJs, because that was the first thing, right? Mm-hmm. Before Serato, it was CDJs. And somebody said something about the turntable. The DJ that was playing, he was playing with something. So he's either playing with Serato or he's playing with CDJs or something. And I made this statement about purity and turntables and stuff like that. And I remember my DJ, who was Prince Paul, looked up and said, no, but I want those. Whatever they were doing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But you have an option. There's people that play only 45. You go ahead, carry your 45s around and break your back. We ain't stopping you.
Nope.
Nope, we ain't stopping you.
Yeah, my thing is, it's cool for you to feel how you feel. Just don't make it seem like the next person is doing something wrong. Even when it comes to, like you said, as artists, where we had to go to the studio, and now it's so much easier to record from home, which is a great thing. Not trying to take away from like producers and engineers, because at the end of the day, I can record the raw, but I'm still going to need you to do the mixing and mastering.
Absolutely.
I
mean, it goes both ways. Like, for instance, the album that I'm putting out next, I know, I didn't even notice until I'm looking at the credits, that I did a lot of that in studios, right? Like, some stuff I record at home, but a lot of that I did in studios. And it was cool. Like, I'm happy about it, but maybe next album I won't. The album before this, I didn't do a lot in studios, meaning at least my vocals, I did them all at home. And I do a lot at home for control. And what I mean is that I can get what I need. And there's only no disrespect.
No disrespect. To what exactly? I think we're having technical difficulties, you guys. But yeah, once again, we are on the line with Daddy O, hip hop legend. Just wait for him to come back in. But quick reminder, what we were saying is about things going on from back then to now. Things are changing, but it's not a bad thing. It's all about gravitating to it and figuring out how to work it in your favor. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to embrace it. Just like new generation, they growing up with the whole social media era, which is great. But I can't get mad at them because they're flourishing faster. I got to figure out how to do it, and it takes time for people to do that, but to each his own. You back?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to merge cultures, right? Because, like, let's think about people that have children, right? There are certain people that they realize that their children are more tech savvy than them. A lot of kids grow up nowadays as digital natives, and they just automatically, right? So a mother or a father might try to be working something, and the kid goes, "Let me see it, Mom," and they just and they do it, right?
Yeah, that's
so
me.
I think it's an opportunity to merge cultures. So, like, hint, hint, me and you do a record together, hint, hint, right? It's an opportunity to merge, what you do and what you know how to do and how you do it with what I do and what I know how to do and how I do it. And I use the word merge because I think a lot of people from my era think that we supposed to be totally telling you guys what to do.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't mean that you're not open to listen, but also doesn't mean that you don't have anything to offer. And trust me, that is like at the gut of my, like, if you want to make me angry, that's the way to make me angry.
I don't want to make you angry.
Because I'm a guy who, I tell people all the time, like, I love everything I did. I started rapping in 1979. Wow. I started recording rap probably about 81, 82, and probably not professionally, probably just at home on a cassette deck and stuff like that, right? And then by the time we entered a bunch of contests, we won almost every one. By 1984, we won a contest and won a record deal. But we actually won first, second, and third place. So all three labels wanted us, but we ended up going with one out of the three.
How do you win first, second, and third?
because nobody could beat us. Like, we were really good. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, we were really good.
Okay.
So what happened was, when usually they go, first place is so-and-so, and then second place, and then the second place will go to another label. And then the third place will go to another label. We won first, second, and third because all the labels just wanted us. But anyway, you fast forward, we learned how to record and everything. And I really think I made some good records. I mean, I definitely made some classics, and, I made records that, still beat up the club to this day. And if we do a show, people scream and yell and all of that. But I always say, as an MC, I feel like I'm a better MC now than I ever was. And that's only because of young people. That's not because of my peers. No disrespect to my peers. But I got nice listening to battle rap. Like, I'm actually in Team Homie with Swave 7 and them. I'm not one of the battle rappers, but I'm in Team Homie. Like, I mess with... Battle rap is, like, what I listen to. Like, I do listen to music, but I listen to a lot of battle rap. I watch a lot of battle rap because they nice. Like, and I keep telling these rappers, like, okay, like, y'all could keep on doing your little sing-songy, but when these kids, meaning these battle rap dudes, figure out how to put one and one together and make two and make records. Because, the story has always been, battle rappers are dope, but they can't make records.
Yeah.
And then, when they figure it out, and a few of them are figuring it out right now, y'all are done. Like, regular rappers, they finish. Because battle rappers don't think like regular rappers. They think 4 times higher or 5 times higher, because being in that arena, it's like, I'm going to live and die right here. And if I slip up, if I miss a word, if somebody rebuttals dope against me, I can lose. I have the dopest rhyme ever, and everybody scream. And that guy can answer, and his first 2 or 4 lines be a rebuttal for my dopest thing that they just screamed to, I can still lose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I learn a lot from listening to young people. I've already learned from my peers. So that's not my. So I'm not taking away from my peers. They've already taught me pretty much as they can. But I can't really see myself learning something from one of the classic MCs today. First of all, I got a pet peeve with them because they don't make records. So they don't even be making new records. So that's a problem to me, because now I only got your old records to listen to. So I don't know how much more of it I'm supposed to study. I'm just talking about rap-wise, not music-wise or like as a producer or anything.
Yeah.
But the young people are constantly spitting. They constantly putting stuff out. They constantly doing things. They constantly impressing me. You know what I mean? So I'm listening to them. I can't sound like them. I'm the OG in the room. I'm always going to sound like the OG in the room. My records are dope. But, you know what I'm saying? I can compete with them. I can compete. But I still compete on the level that I do. But that's who I learn from. And I think one of the biggest problems with hip-hop, well, you want to call it, they like to make distinctions between hip-hop and rap and whatever. Yeah. I'm serious. Like,
I know. I wanted to ask you about that later, but continue with the story.
Yeah. But one of the things about hip-hop is that I think that is a problem, right? Because I listen to country, and I listen to country for real. Like, I don't kind of passively listen. I know the artists and everything. And one of the things I see with country artists is if you take a Jason Aldean, he totally respects a Hank Williams. You know, you take a Trisha Yearwood, she totally respects a Dolly Parton. Like, and they do records together. Like, they get it in. Yeah. Because, you know, even though new country, a lot of people call new country pop music, you know, after Carrie Underwood and you know, Taylor Swift basically comes from that world too. You know, so they say, oh, it's pop music now, but they still pay homage, and there's a line there. And I just look for that to happen to him. I just want to see it happen. That's all.
Yeah. No, I get it, because even starting as a music artist, but when I transitioned into a radio personality, a lot of my DJ friends are all older, right? So when they be playing music and stuff, and they be like, "Question, you know who this is?" I'd be like, "No." See, that's y'all problem now. Y'all don't pay homage. Y'all don't listen to the old school music. Y'all don't. I'm like, instead of yelling at me or being disappointed, tell me who it is now,
right?
So I can know.
Right.
And I'm like, that's one of the issues with the disconnect from new generation, mid-generation, and old generation. You keep beating us up for what we don't know, but when we try to come to you, why can't you just tell us so we can know?
Yeah, and then the other thing is how me and you got connected. Like, we got connected because I made a new record. Not because you found me on YouTube or something like that. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. And that's what I keep trying to explain to them. Like, yo, if you make modern heat, they will respect you because they're going to respect your rap game. Mm-hmm. And you might be I'm a lot of other things. I'm a producer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is that they're going to respect your rap game, and then that can open up the conversation for other things. But one thing that they don't want to know is that you only rapped in 1981. Hip hop's different than say maybe some R&B or maybe some pop music or some of those other things. Mm-hmm. Some of those other types of music, they could get with you like that. Like, oh yeah, you made that record in '85. My mom used to like that record. Like, they could get. Hip hop ain't like that. Hip hop is current. We talk about current issues. We do things. You see the challenges going on in the internet. It's us. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's what we are, and it's swelled so big. That's the other thing. I think some guys from my and girls probably, but the girls from my generation totally different. Latifah and them different. And she did a dope verse on the Rhapsody album too. Uh-huh. Guys, a lot of the guys, I think what happens with them is that they don't really pay attention to what I call the swell. And I make a facetious statement. I say, when we first started, there was only 9 of us. Now, of course, it was only 9. But what I'm saying is that it was a small amount of us doing this. So it was kind of almost possible to know everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's been a swell. This thing swelled internationally. German rappers. There's rappers in Dubai. There's rappers in Belgium. There's guys in London. There's all types of stuff going on. So it's impossible to know everybody now. And I just mentioned internationally. It's impossible to know everybody nationally. It's just impossible.
But
and then we break that up. Go ahead, I'm listening.
I'm so happy that you said that because people still look at you like you crazy when you don't know someone. I'm like, there's mainstream artists that don't even know mainstream artists.
Absolutely. they get in one of these concerts and they be like, wow, I never knew. Like, and the person be huge. Right? Mm-hmm. And they be like, and they be huge. And they be like, I never knew. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
So much. People don't pay attention. I always say that. People don't pay attention to the numbers. Mm-hmm. They don't pay attention to the growth. This thing is way bigger than any of us could have ever, and I'm talking about a guy that started rapping in 79, than any of us could have ever imagined this thing would have been. It's bigger than that. And we don't know. We just didn't know. And even Travis Scott right now doesn't know how much it's going to grow. Even Roddy Ricch right now doesn't know how much it's going to grow. He might know his position. He might know his involvement. But this thing's going to get bigger than him. Mm-hmm. And it's going to get bigger than Kendrick. And it's going to get bigger than J. Cole. And they're going to see a swell from their point. Yeah. Their vantage point. Because Jadakiss and them seen a swell from their vantage point. Mm-hmm. Right? This is bigger than Biggie and Nas and Tupac now. So, you know, you have to pay attention that it's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And you just got to be happy if you meet the folks. You know what I'm saying? You got to be happy if you run into them. You know? Mm-hmm. I talk about rappers that people don't even know because, like, for instance, on my forthcoming album, I got Andre Nickatina on my album. Most of my friends was like, who's Andre Nickatina? When I took them to YouTube, they seen almost every video he had over 2 million views. They're like, wow, I don't know this guy. I was like, you don't live in Sacramento. You don't live in the Bay. You're not a gangster, so you wouldn't know him. Mm-hmm. Because that's his element. If you ain't from that right there, there's no way you're gonna know about that. That's not commercial mainstream. If you went to one of his concerts, it's super packed. You like, where the hell am I? But that's his element. But I've been listening to Nickatina for a long time. I love him. He's one of my favorite rappers. So I was like, I got this opportunity. I use Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Like, I got this opportunity. Let me see if I can find Nickatina. So I found him. And the kid who did the track is from London. Like, a kid from London just sent me a track. Mean track. I didn't know what to do with it. This joint's hard. This joint's dope. But I just didn't know what to do with the joint. Like I didn't know what to do with that track. And then once I talked to Tina about doing something together, I was like, let me see if he likes this. And he did. And I was, but I'm just saying, like, it's you gotta be happy nowadays to just even meet somebody.
Yeah.
Because so many people. You just gotta be blessed that you even meet them. Like, oh man, I met E40. Oh man, you gotta just be happy that you even meet them.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many of us.
I like meeting them, the humble ones, or the ones. I tell people, you can't always get upset if you meet a celebrity or someone at a different level and they don't give you all the love that you expect from them, because you got to realize their lives are pretty hectic and crazy. Right. And they can't smile 24/7. They can't be laughing 24/7. Right. They got people in their ear, people in their phones, people on their side. And even though I'm on a little lower level, I kind of get that, because people know me as happy-go-lucky, as an entertainer. And then when I'm quiet, what's wrong with you? I'm like, can I give my voice a rest? Like, there's nothing wrong. It's just a lot. But for the ones who still pull it together, I call them like parents, because, you got to hold it together for your kids.
Right.
The ones that still pull it together and still show you that love and give you that moment, make you feel important, make you feel special. I'm like, kudos to y'all, because y'all know that even though you're up here, you don't have to look at us as if we're down here.
It's always about, if you do it as a give and take, it's always going to work out. I look at y'all and I always say, that's why I'm talking about a record. But anyway, I look at y'all because I say, I can learn. If I open up to try to learn from you, you know what I mean? Then that's different. If I come at you like I know everything, then that's a different story. First of all, nobody knows everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's one thing. But I don't know. I don't know. I think ego does get the best of some people, and I don't know if that's just us, because I'm sure that there's some young people with that same kind of ego.
Oh, absolutely. If they just trending or have a certain amount of followers, you can't tell them nothing. Right. And I'm just like, wow, okay.
Yeah. So ego is probably this feels different. Coming from a young person, it feels one way. Coming from an older person, it feels another way. But it's still ego. So.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Honestly, it doesn't pay off. Mm-hmm. And I hear people say, "Oh yeah, that's the moral high ground," and da da da. But it's true. It really doesn't pay off, and I know that. And I just say that because you know why? Because I come from the street. I'm a street dude, so I know what happens. And ultimately, sad to say, but true, it don't turn out right for you just because of us down here. And I mean that by only for a certain period of time are you able to be up on that stage and in that hotel room and in that jet. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you're going to be on the ground with us. And how we see you will determine whether or not you go home naked or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And the street going to always be the same. It don't have to tell New Yorkers. Say, man, look, man, you go to Saginaw and get your face ripped off. Don't think because you're a New Yorker, you tougher. It doesn't work like that in Liberty City. Side of Chicago. Nobody cares. And so I'm not advocating crime, and that I know a rapper and having street cats respect us because of the way we acted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just say, yo, y'all good. You get a pass. I just said on one of my records, I said, I said, Slick Rick and Doug Fresh, Lottie Dottie. I get the warning from the goons. They happened to me. Because I love this dance still. I still love it. Daddy, or who with you? I'm like, her, and him. All right, 5 minutes, y'all get off the floor. Because they want the party. Absolutely. They want the whole party. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just saying that there's always some, maybe it's not the criminal element, but there's always some sort of leveler.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't pay off because there's a leveler is always there.
No, you're absolutely right. I actually want to take a little sidetrack. I was telling people that I was interviewing you, and one of my fans did have a question for you. And the question was, what was it like for you and why to get in self-destruction?
You talking about to do the first one? I mean, well, it was easy because all of us was always together. Again, there's that concept I was talking about when we started. It was 9 of us. Everybody I made that record with, they were all homies. We were all doing shows together. We were all coming up at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I always tell people one of the fun facts is if you look at me on the steps, Tone Loc is sitting right next to me. You know what I mean? We were homies. So I mean, it was different. Like, so I'm doing self-destruction too now. I'm adding the effort. It's always different than now because I might put 2 people on this new song that don't even know each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's probably going to be a bunch of people on this record that don't know each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That wasn't the way it was in the beginning. It was, it was an incredible effort, but it was very normal, very, very normal because we knew everybody.
I think it's more fun that way. And nowadays, it's like, who are you? Oh, okay.
Right.
How long you been out? How many followers you got? I'm like, is that what we're talking about? Like, stranger danger. And I'm like, no. What happened to really coming together and like doing this for the fun, doing it for the love, doing ciphers, just because we love what we do. Music is therapy. Music is happiness. Music challenges you lyrically. What happened to all of that? When did the disconnect happen?
Well, I think this is true, right? So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not one of those people. I really am not. Like, I can't stand none of that stuff. I'm one of those guys who, and they could shoot me. I'm one of those guys that don't even believe no Illuminati exists. Like, because I realize, because I worked for tech companies in the past, I realize how much fluff you can do on the internet. You could really think it's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could make a news site. We could do all types. We could Photoshop some stuff. We could make some phony videos. We could do a bunch of stuff. So I don't, and even if it does, it don't bother me. Like, because evil been around since the beginning of the world. Depending on what you believe, I'm a Bible dude. So Cain slew Abel. Come on, man. Them was brothers. You know what I mean? Like, yo. Don't miss me with that concept of evil because it's been around since the beginning of time. But the one thing that I do say with folks is that we have to take hold of the things that are in our I'll say possession, atmosphere, circle, all of those particular things. That's the tough part about all of that, because a lot of times we concentrate on things outside of our circle. Like, I'll give you an example. You say, somebody asks us, how many followers you got, how long you been out. So let's move that out the way, because how many followers you have, I can't control. Yeah. How long you've been out, I can't control. But what I can kind of control is how are you comparable to us getting together and doing something.
Yeah.
And that's where the concentration should be. You know what I mean? If the person don't fit your steez, they just don't fit your steez. It don't matter. That's one of the, so I think that the disconnect came when the corporate, because it happens with everything. It happened with Mercedes. I watched it happen with Mercedes Benz when Ford started making some Mercedes. Yeah, and stuff ended up being plastic and not wood. Whenever there's any kind of corporate takeover based on, what we are based on, which is, commercialism and that type of thing, you're gonna have some disconnect, because now people are gonna look into a mass manufacture of a thing. Sad to say for us, in this case it was rap, but it could be a car, it could be a chain, it could be a dish towel. But once that happened, you come off the street, out the parks, off the independent labels, all of that kind of stuff. Machismo, of course, there's going to be some sort of disconnect. I mean, there is going to be some sort of disconnect, and I think it's up to the artist to remedy that. Right? The artists have to remedy that. They have to say no to some things that, like, that's one of the problems I think nowadays, is that, people don't know how to say no. Because they want to accept everything. Because they think everything's not a come up. This is not Katrina.
Yeah.
I never forgot, I was living in Atlanta. I live in Houston now, but I was living in Atlanta, and Houston experienced the same thing. They said, when the people came from New Orleans after Katrina, everything was a come up. So, of course, they was robbing everything and breaking their houses because they didn't have nothing. This ain't Katrina. Everything's not a come up. You didn't lose everything. And you got to stop doing that, because, again, it doesn't always work out. And that's where we're seeing, that's one of the things I want to address on self-destruction too. That's where you're seeing this mass rate of suicide, or the opioids, or some of the things that they're going through it because, think about it, as artists we may experience possible the largest degree of depression in this country.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to make something. It's not that you want to be popular, but you at least want to be heard.
Absolutely.
So everybody doesn't get the opportunity to be an Andre Nicotino or Tech Nine that has their own built-in kind of audience. You don't have to be mainstream, but you still make your money and people like you. Everybody doesn't have that opportunity. So you might have a little guy in Philly, you know what I'm saying? A little guy in Missouri, some little guy in Boise, Idaho, that's making a record. He's expecting Idaho to like this record. Maybe he calls this record the Idaho Bounce, and he's expecting this record to kind of blow up. He mentions all the hot spots in Idaho and all of this, and it don't work. I mean, he could stop rapping and go be a postman or something like that, but even that might eat him alive. You know what I mean? So he might, pun intended, go postal. You know what I mean? Because it's like, man, why didn't this work? You know what I mean? And so I'm sure that we experience a whole lot of that. And, so it's just something to be noted in terms of what we deal with. That's why you can't say yes to everything. You won't feel so bad. A lot of times you will now start taking the responsibility yourself and say, hey, well, if it didn't work, it was my fault that it didn't work. I'll give you a case example using myself. It's easier for me to use myself as an example. I've been putting records out again since 2016. I did records with Stetsasonic in the 90s, and I did a solo record in the 90s. So stop with Stet. The Stet records kind of ended at 91, around in there. Made my first solo record in 93, and then I had not made another record. I did a couple of step out features here and there, but never did another record until 2016. Since then I done did 5 albums, but that period of time I had to kind of check and see who I was.
Yeah.
Right? And stop blaming people. So a good deal after 93 was a bunch of finger pointing. Bunch of it. Oh, this one did this. If that would have happened, I would have blew up. And Some people did do some dirt, but I had to recognize that it was still my fault for allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
That I was not, and I tell black people all the time, no disrespect to anybody else. Well, it's just for everybody anyway. Jump out. You ever see, I'm in the victim box. Jump out of the victim box. Stop blaming. That blame game, that'll take you all the way to the suicide level.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
But I love your energy, your vibe. You know, how you still stay true to the game, but you're still humble. You're still knowledgeable. You're still welcoming. You know, I can only imagine how people receive you, not just on stage, but I'm sure you do a lot of those hip hop seminars.
Right, I do.
Yeah, so how do you feel when it's like new cats, a younger generation, be like, who are you? And what do you say to them?
I mean, here's one thing that I love nowadays. I could always say Google me. I couldn't say that in the past. I would actually have to list an incredible, line of accolades, and I did this, and it was me that did this, and I put Junior Mafia together, and blah, blah, blah. I would have to do all of that. Mm-hmm. Now I could just say Google me, and, it's whatever. But I don't, again, there's so many people, mm-hmm. like how can anybody know everybody?
Exactly.
And when I look at young people, I always say, especially now I look at young people and say their grandfather knows me. It used to be a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, I would say, yeah, their pops probably know me. Mm-hmm. But now it's a league of grand. So, yeah, your grandfather probably know who I am. Probably grew up on my music and everything. Fact. You know what I mean? But mm-hmm. it's no different than me not knowing. I didn't grow up knowing Chubby Checker. I didn't grow up knowing Little Richard. I didn't grow up knowing Elvis. The only reason I knew Elvis was because Elvis was in movies. Mm. Right? And so some of those movies used to play back on Saturdays. But I didn't grow up knowing Elvis music. It was too old. It was no way for me to know it. But you asked me about Blue Magic. You asked me about the Jackson 5. You asked me about Earth, Wind, and Fire. I knew all of them. Mm-hmm. That was during my time. You know what I mean? So I don't fault people for knowing what's during their time. What I will say is this, what I like. I like when I meet young people and they do because there's a few young people that's out there now because they got Spotify and because they got Apple Music and because they got YouTube, they dig. And I like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because they dig and they go, oh, man, I never knew this was here. I never knew somebody did something like this. And, wow, I thought so-and-so was the first person to do this kind of thing. And now I see that this thing existed. So I like that. I like to see people dig. But I don't fault them for things that they may not know. Mm-hmm.
And what separates you from the most is you're doing it in a way that, no disrespect, I have a lot of accolades. It's just easier for you to Google me instead of the ones that's very arrogant, like, yo, just Google me. You know what it is. Like,
I just want them to know. I just want them to know what's going on. Listen, mm-hmm. I'm rapping. That's my whole thing. Like, I've been an executive. I've been a producer. I'm still an executive, still a producer. I've done all of that, and I still will continue to do all that. But the level of where the rubber meets the road for me and young people, I am a rapper. And my man gave me something a few months ago that I love, and I said, man, I'm keeping that, and on my next business card, that's what I'm putting. He said, yo, because I was working with this guy, because I do some stuff in the tech space. So I was working with him in the tech space. When I work with people in the tech space, I don't tell them who I am or nothing unless they ask or mm-hmm. maybe they notice, right? But, this guy happened to be younger than me. He's from the Midwest, so he didn't know. He's from Indiana. He didn't know who I was or what I was doing or whatever. And so when I started talking to him about it, he was like, wow. Then he went home, we did a project. I think it was 2 weeks. So, he went home that night, came back and said, man, I did some digging, man. Oh, man, I know you did this and this and this. He said, man, you a professional rapper. No, you're not like people that's just doing it. You really are. And I said, I love that. I'm using that. But that's what I'm saying. I'm rapping. So that's where I meet young people. Like, it's easy for me to throw right now. Like, for instance, the reason we got on this call because we was on the free DJ call for Gun Store movie. Real easy for me to tell a young person, look, I'm about to send you this MP3, and they listen to it. It don't have to be everything they like, but they damn sure can't disrespect it. They be like, yo, OG can rap. Like, it ain't what I like to listen to, but OG got chops. Like, you know what I mean? It's so different than being a singer. You might be a singer and have chops. You might be singing something that people don't like, but they can't deny your skill. And so that's where I meet them. I just meet them on a skill level. Like, yo, I do this, young. I do this. Like, I'm Team Army. Like, I do this for real. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference between maybe some of me and some of my peers. And this is the level. And I'm not trying to be the friggin' like. I'm not trying to be the prophet here, but this is the level that I want my peers on, because I really feel like if Big Daddy Kane was doing what I do, if MC Shan was doing what I do, Chuck D is doing what I do, but it's only me and Chuck out there.
Yeah.
If Chuck Rock was doing exactly what I do, and I can mention 19 more. Now they got to create a whole new category for classic hip hop. Grammys, Billboard, everybody. We don't get lost in the sauce, because now there's classic hip hop to be, to be contested, to be reckoned with. But if enough of us are not doing it, then I'm out here by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I noticed recently a lot of my followers, the younger ones, more like in the 20s, early 30s, they're like, how come lately you've been interviewing so many old heads or people making a comeback? I'm just like, first of all, watch your tone. Don't be disrespectful, okay? And realize it's not about me interviewing an old head or people back in the day. It's me interviewing someone who's doing something now, who has a story to be told, and I am here to give them the platform to tell it. Right. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to your talent, either you got it, still got it, or it left. And if you still got it and you can bring that heat for someone to respect it, why not do it? Talent doesn't have an age if you know what you're doing. Like I told you on the phone call, remember, I was just like, if I would have never knew who you were or how old you were based off your tone and energy, I would have thought you was one of the ones like 20-something. You just came in the game. Because I'm never going to come look at you or your music as like an old head still rapping. I'll say, no, I'm hearing a track that's fire. And that's it. But, people got to go to that. They were like, why are you making it seem like, I said, I understand we the same age, me and them. But I don't think like you guys. It's to the way it's kind of offended. I'm like, as I grow older, even me as a music artist, I don't want you to look at like, what she doing to that? I'm like, no. I want you to appreciate what I'm saying in my lyrics and what I'm delivering to you. It doesn't matter my age. Right. It's all about the content.
Yeah, and that's why that's the other thing that going back to what we were talking about in the very beginning. That's the other thing I like about nowadays, right? Because we really can nowadays, like, do it. And what I mean by that is that, like, we can prove it because you could go in tonight and make something and blow it through the water. You know what I mean? Like, or even if it don't blow up, it could be there dope enough that people just say, damn, did you hear that joint that she did? You have that opportunity to do that now where, honestly, in the past, you really didn't. Yeah. So in the past, you sitting down and you go like, damn, I got this great fucking idea, but I can't get it out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Man, and then somebody else does it and you're like, man, I had that idea first, but you couldn't do it. But nowadays, you can. Dope. You know what I'm saying? That's what the new technology does that allows, it allows us to do some real cool. I just like that. I'm happy about that.
Absolutely. But I'm excited. So I'm really curious. What's this female project that you're doing?
So, I'm gonna tell you how it happened.
Okay.
I use all social media, but I'm more Instagram than I am anything else, right?
Okay.
And so I'm on Instagram, and I'm noticing, like, girls that's rapping, they not really super popular, but they nice as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is crazy, right? So I'm like, So one of my new habits is, even with producers. I haven't been doing it lately, but I'm gonna go back to it. Is when a producer send me something, they be like, "Oh, let me do a track on your album." A lot of times with producers, I'd be like, "Yo, let's do a whole album."
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do that back in the day, you know. So it was all like, "Oh, let me get one track, let me get." And yeah, I've been doing a little bit of one track here and there and all that, but it's the same thing with that. So I did a record. So I found this girl online. Her name is Gloss. I think she calls herself Gloss the Boss now. She changed it a little bit. But anyway, found her online. She was killing it. She was like, she was self-made. Had her own studio, was doing all this, and she used to do it. I was like, yo, let's do something together. And she was like, all right. So I sent her something. And she did it. And I was like, holy shit, this is dope. Let me try this again. And so I found this girl, Miranda Wright. And Miranda was a challenge because she rapped, do something. She said, do club. And I was like, what does she mean by club? Like, so I was like, yo, what you mean by club? You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes people call music club music, right?
Yeah.
And the club music that they call, what they call club music, clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really club music like what we used to call club music, which is like disco, kind of housey, kind of whatever. But I did have this one club track that I had made. Again, that's why I say I just make it. So I had this thing I did one day. I like it. I was like, this is dope. I just don't know where I'm going to use it. I just left it. And then I was like, yeah, I got one joint. I sent it to her. She murdered it. Like, wow, this is nice. So then, from then on, I was just like, yo, I'm doing an album. And then, all my albums, since the From My Hood to You album, which is the last album, which is one that's out now. I had ideas before, but I didn't do it. I've been using, at least because David D gets on me all the time. He's like, yo, Daddy, that female hip hop energy, man. You need to, So I've always been like trying to include at least a girl on each album.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I already was working with Lena Jackson. I already was working with Indigo Phoenix. So of course I'm getting records from them. And then I just start reaching out to people. Like, if I see them, or they'd be like, there's, I think, this thing called the Bars Up Network or something like that.
Yeah.
That's on Instagram, and I see some girl. I met this girl and another girl. Actually, two girls from that thing. I sent them some stuff, so we supposed to do something. And I seen Shauna online. I'm like, yo, let's do something. She was like, all right. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to do it like just an album with just like me and girls, like. You know what I mean? Because and all the girls I got, they making nice stuff and stuff. It's just interesting to do. I think it's cool. So it's a do. I think I'm gonna call it as of right now. I like the name. I just don't know if it's too corny.
What is it?
But right now I'm calling the album Duets Femme Fatale. But maybe yes, maybe no. My team has a good idea. Like a lot of times with my team, I'll give them something and they'll give it back to me better. So I'll make artwork. Like, I don't even make artwork for albums and singles, and they'll just give it back to me better.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So I'll feed them words, and they'll send me something. They'll give me something back. But, yeah, I just want to do a duets album with girls. I think it's a dope idea, and it'll be an opportunity for me because most of the girls that I'm making records with say maybe not. Like, the only two kind of unknown females that said yes to me is Bahamadia and Shauna. So people know Sean and people know Bahama D, but nobody, the other girls, they might be known in the underground, but people don't know them. So it's also an opportunity for me to do something and showcase that talent. You know what I'm saying? Because I always like coming with young gunners to show people like, yo, let me show you something. Like, y'all be talking about nobody rap no more. That's the other thing is that people say to me because of my age, and where I come from, my class, where I come from, my era.
Yeah.
People always be like, oh, no, nobody rap no more. They all mumble rapping. I'm like, what the hell are you listening to if you think every young person is mumble rapping? Like, what are you listening to?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's my opportunity to showcase talent. It's my way to showcase talent. But, I'd rather just go ahead and do a record to showcase talent. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And we'll definitely talk more about it off the air. We're actually down to the last 4 minutes. I keep trying to tell people time flies when you're having fun with TQuest. A lot of people interview people and it'd be like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, no, I like to have a whole conversation and it'd be flowing so smoothly. Like they don't realize like, dang, it's been an hour already. I'm like, yeah. But any final words to all the viewers, all the fans and stuff that definitely love and appreciate you that's listening right now?
Few things. Look out for self-destruction too. For the artists, just keep making stuff, keep writing stuff. Please don't stop writing. Like, throw away, ball up your paper, write it again. Every time you write something, at least look at it, because there could be ways, that it might be able to be improved, and listen to other people. Like one of the things I see about this generation, this is the first time I heard somebody say they do an interview with them and who you listen to? Oh, I only listen to myself. I've never heard that before. This time. And that's dangerous. It's very dangerous. Listen to other people, figure out what they're doing. Not to mimic them, but really to beat them. You know what I'm saying? Really Absolutely. To be better and get your craft together,
Absolutely. Well, I definitely want to say it's been an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to interview you today. You definitely dropped some knowledge, dropped some jewels. Just like the TQuest show is relatable, informative, yet entertaining. And there were certain things that I would say to people, they look at me like I'm crazy, but you just validated that I'm not crazy. I'm very sane. And I appreciate that. And definitely looking forward to see what type of magic we can do.
I'll definitely send you some stuff. We'll talk about it and see, if you got a flavor that you're looking at. Mm-hmm. But I'm always, I ain't gonna lie, I'm always sitting on heat. Always.
I'm not surprised.
Always.
I'm not surprised. Not one bit, I really not. But yeah, this has definitely been fun, and definitely going to continue to stay in contact and do what we do. Once again, you guys, has been another TQuest show. You guys already know what to do. Follow me on all social media platforms at TQuestGLM. And also remember to download that TQuest app in your mobile Google Play Store and App Store. Hit me with that 5 stars and a nice review. People, check out reviews. You can do all this stuff for free, so stop being so lazy. And remember to sign up on my mailing list for all the exclusives at GottaLoveMeWorld.com. And if you are a fan of me, make sure you go stream my stuff. And you guys already know, outside of entertainment, my number one profession is vocal work. So any of you DJs need drops, producers need tags, artists need skits, business people need promo, audio, commercials, sweepers, or whatever. I am the girl to go to. It's your girl TQuest. You are just tuned into another TQuest show, and I am out.